Hey guys, just a couple procedural things. I just wanted to give you guys some information. I know everybody here saw, Donovan Newsome last week with the scary situation, and he's doing better each day. We're going to put him on injured reserve, and so it will come across the wire procedurally as a waived injured. But he's going to be on injured reserve, and talking with our doctors, he got great care up here at Stanford. It's the best thing for the kid. Give him time to really get right, and so had a good talk with him this morning, but just wanted to point that out. And then I thought it was great work for both sides out here today, really productive. I think both coaches handled their teams really well. Had one little scuffle, but I've never seen one of these joint practices where you haven't, but I thought it was very professional on both sides, really productive work, and we were thrilled with it.
How would you find yourself watching most closely? What units did you want to see?
Well, I tried to perch myself right there in the middle, and I was like watching a tennis match going back and forth. So try to watch just as much as possible, and really, I know that's a playoff caliber team, and so you want to see how are we measuring up, and it's a practice. But I was proud of the way our guys competed on both sides of the field and on special teams, and it's a great measuring stick, and it's a great opportunity for our team to go up against one of the deeper rosters in football and see how we stack up.
You guys do anything disciplinary-wise with Adrian Colbert?
Yeah, I thought our coaches handled it really well. First of all, I'll just say Adrian is a tremendous kid. And I went over there and said, Adrian, that's not how we practice. And, we talked about how we were going to conduct ourselves. And he just said, hey, I just lost my head. I was tracking the ball. Next thing you know, he was there. And I can't tell you that I haven't been there myself. So we kind of sat him out for a little, let things cool down. And then he went back to practice, talked to Vance and talked to John, and everything was good.
Get out of a joint practice compared to a normal practice or compared to a preseason game?
Yeah, I think what you get out of it, first of all, I think players get excited, and again, the juices get flowing a little bit. But when you practice against each other all the time, our defensive players are calling out our offensive plays. You get to know, the audibles, and so you're going up against something where it's not scripted. It's completely unscripted. You don't know everything that they're doing, and so it's just true competition. It really is as close to a game as possible. John and I were talking about it, and Belichick's done 3 this year. We weren't at that point. We had to install a lot of things, but in the future, I don't think you can get enough of this. If you can handle it like that, if it becomes a melee, it becomes very unproductive. But I thought I really commend both coaches for getting their teams right, because when it is right, it's the best thing you can do.
How good that defense is. How did you think particularly your first team offense went up against that defense?
It looked good. It's practice. We'll go back and watch the film, but it looked good, and I do have so much respect for those players there and the way they play. And so I think it's just, for Trent Brown to go up against Von Miller, for Joe Staley to go up against those guys. Like I said, it's a top flight, and particularly that unit. That's as good as it gets in this league, and so a great opportunity, and it looked good. It looked competitive.
Do you have an opportunity to talk to John about, hey, look, this list of guys on our team should be on an NFL roster, and they might not be here.
Yeah.
Do you have a list, or you guys kind of talk
Yeah.
through?
Well, Matt, that's going on in the league. This is kind of that time of year where people are calling and saying, hey, you're strong here. We're strong here. Let's just kind of keep these things in mind, and this is a great opportunity to do that. So we did have some of those discussions, and the greatest thing is lots of times you're throwing on a preseason game. We get a chance for 3 days to look at some people we might be interested. So you're always doing that, and I think they're doing that as well. And, it's another productive thing out of this week.
John, you saw a lot of the Bronco quarterbacks in the preseason last year, Trevor and Paxton. I was curious what you think of how they looked out there today.
Yeah. Well, I think highly of both those guys. I know they're having their battle, and, I think, Paxton has those wow throws, but then, it's just the consistency. Trevor's extremely consistent, and so, I think the only way is just to let that play out and see who kind of rises to the top there, and that's what they're doing. Have great respect for both of them, and be interesting to see it play out.
Open in April about talking about moving Vance McDonald.
Yeah.
Now, is that still kind of open possibility?
You know, I think what I've been thoroughly impressed, as has Kyle and everybody around here, how Vance has responded to that. And I thought last week against Kansas City was a great example. He, you know, even though it didn't show up on the stat sheet, it's as good as I've seen him block. And he did it consistently, and he competed extremely hard. And so we were very proud of Vance. So, you know, Kyle talks a lot about that. There's no absolutes, and you know, at the time, that's the way we were thinking. But he's come back and shown us all a lot. So he's competing in a very competitive room. I think that's a room where someone's going to have to separate themselves, and you know, he's a big part of that. So we're very pleased with him right now. You know, Bob told me that there was something, but I talked to him, and you know, like Ruben, big smile, said, "I'm straight, man." So he's good. He's straight. No, he's good.
Back in January, before things developed for you and Kyle here, did you have any impression that Kyle may end up in Denver just based on the ties that had there?
I knew who, you know, John interviewed him and was thoroughly impressed with him. And, you know, I know that was a tough call. John's very pleased with Vance, but came away just thoroughly impressed with Kyle. And so, obviously, you know, quite of familiarity with the family, but really came away, just like I did, impressed with Kyle. And so, you know, it's neat to see it work out for everyone. Yeah, you know, Brian, you know, we've said from the beginning, you know, we want a franchise quarterback around here, and a lot of people are making assumptions as to what Brian's role is. Is he a bridge? Is he all those things? And our response to Brian and to everybody is he's got the first crack of being that guy, and I love the way he's embracing that opportunity each and every day, and really has been a tremendous leader for our group. And, you know, I think probably exceeded my expectations of how I thought he could play, and I think the same for Kyle. It's been very, very good. You know, we've only played one preseason game, and you know, we got to continue to let it develop. But he's taken this opportunity, and I think doing a tremendous job with it.
John, silent protests, sideline protests are happening. Looks like they're not going away anytime soon. If it happens here amongst some of your players, as it did here last year, how do you feel about that? Do you support it? Do you tolerate it? Do you have concerns with it?
Yeah, you know, I've got my own feelings about it, you know, and I think my strongest feeling, you know, we had a great deal the other day where we had 4 chairs up here, and there was Steve Young and Jerry Rice, and they talked about the 49er way, and I always thought it's one of the great things about this league is, in fact, I think it's a great beacon for the rest of culture in terms of the way it should be. You strive for a common goal, and you have unity, and I think this game brings people together. So I think personally when I see that, I think that's divisive, you know, and I understand guys see things that they're not happy, and they have that right, and I think we'll always respect people's rights. That doesn't mean I believe that. You know, I believe that this game should actually be celebrated for what it is. I think a tremendous unifier for our country and for what you know, the way things should be. You know, Bill Walsh used to speak about it. You know, you take guys from all over the country, different socioeconomic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, and you have friends for life. Warren Sapp's here today working with our defensive line because he's a buddy of mine and always will be. And so those type of stories, I think, get lost in something like this, but they've got their reasons, and we'll always be respectful of those.
Does what you just said mean that you would talk to those players about that, or do you just, you know, allow them as men to?
Yeah. You know, I think that we'll always communicate. We think over-communicating is a good thing. You know, we haven't faced that situation, and, you know, if we do, we'll communicate.
You guys talked, you were talking about Jerry Rice and Steve Young being here. You guys have talked a lot about reestablishing culture as opposed to maybe building a culture. How are those two things different, and how do you kind of try to dig into the past while also evolving forward?
Well, yes, that's a great question because, you know, I tell our guys all the time when we do things like this, that's what it is. It's you know, I think it's almost like a cheat sheet. This is the way it should be, and these guys know. And when we walk by those Super Bowl trophies, but they don't come free. You know, you got to go earn them. But why not take advantage of guys like that? And why not invite them? And if Jerry Rice wants to practice, go ahead and practice. You know, that's good for us. And Steve Young up here, I've always respected Steve, but the stories they told, I think better than we ever could, they told them what the 49er way is. And it was awesome. I was sitting up here watching, I was proud of our guys because they were just spellbound on these guys. And so why not take advantage of you know, it's Denver every day gets to look at John Elway, and he's a big part of their history. So why not embrace that? And it's something we're doing, and we're going to continue to do.
You see you put on the cleats and get Hoyer.
You don't want to see that. You know, I thought Jerry was. I saw him about halfway through start stretching those hamstrings. I thought we were about to blow a hamstring, but he is Jerry Rice, so he looked pretty good.